раді вперше вітати депутата провінційного парламенту Онтаріо Наталію Кусендову, яка щойно повернулася з Польщі, та розповість про стан мільйон українських біженців з України.
Дорогі глядачі, продовжуємо нашу великодню програму і маємо привілей привітати делегата провінційного парламенту пані Наталію Кусендову з округи Mississauga. Natalia Kusendova, welcome to our show. And we understand you just finished a very interesting visit to Poland and can offer us some interesting insight into what's happening with all the refugees, the war refugees that are in Poland right now. Welcome to our show, and please tell us what you were able to observe in Poland.
Добрий день, вітаю вас. Дякую for having me on your show. And yes, indeed, I've returned from Poland recently, where I was there with the Canadian medical assistance teams, where we were able to establish two medical checkpoints, one on the Ukrainian side of the border and one on the Polish side of the border. So I was there in my capacity as a registered nurse, but what I've seen, was quite shocking. I mean, we were seeing so many women and children coming through the different border crossings, and there are several ones in the country. For safety reasons, I can't tell you where our Canadian medical team is stationed. But so Poland has received up till today close to 2.5 million refugees coming from Ukraine. So that is quite a large number. And of course, all humanitarian aid, all medical assistance, food and shelter is being provided by Poland, by the municipal governments, but of course by Polish citizens themselves. Polish people have opened up their homes and their hearts to take in Ukrainian refugees. And I have to say, I'm so proud of our Canadian pharmacies here, because I put out a call to receive donations of all kinds of medications that are urgently needed, including insulin, blood thinners, antibiotics. And through the generosity of our Canadian pharmacies, we were able to take with us about 20,000 worth of medical supplies when we flew in with our medical mission. And those supplies were used at the border, and also they were transported to those hospitals in need. And the situation, it's been going on for 6 weeks now. And so every day is different. One day we saw 3-4 buses of refugees coming in and people with a lot of medical needs. Other days were slower, where we only saw a few people coming in. I'll never forget the image of a grandma being wheeled in through the border on a wheelchair. These kinds of images stay with you forever. But definitely the trauma that those refugees are experiencing is very deep. And I don't think people have had a chance to process that trauma yet. And so I think it's very, very important what our government at the Ontario level is doing to ensure that those refugees coming in from Ukraine are able to access our medical system right away, because not only do they need medical support, but also mental health support, because the trauma will be very pronounced. And once people have time to settle down and really reflect on what has happened, they will need mental health support. So I'm really happy that the government of Ontario is providing that support from day one.
Well, we thank you very much, Natalia, for explaining things to us, and we're very, very grateful to the Polish people and the Polish authorities for helping all these forced immigrants or forced refugees from Ukraine. Now, how you've mentioned that we can't really divulge how everybody's coming across the border, but how is everybody being organized in Poland? Are there specific camps, or are there specific areas or specific, buildings that people are steered towards? How is Poland handling all of this influx of people? And I know the generosity, but logistics are also important here.
So I can tell you that each border crossing is different. There is 6 to 8 different ones. And so some of them are pedestrian, where you can just simply walk through the border. Others is only by car or by bus. So every single border crossing has a little bit of different logistics. Part of what our team was doing was actually having cars go in and help the refugees cross the border, because they were only allowed to cross in a vehicle. So that was part of the mission that we were organizing. But very good question about the logistics. And so the municipal governments of the border towns have really, really stepped up and provided these welcome centers. We're not calling them camps, because the Polish government wants Ukrainian citizens to feel welcomed And from day one, they are providing assistance such as legal aid, settlement services, translation services. But also, what's really important to note, Ukrainian citizens are eligible to receive the PESEL number, which is the same number that Polish citizens have. So they are being treated like citizens. So there is no camp per se for these newcomers. They are being located at welcome centers for the first few days, and from there they are being matched up with Polish families who have so generously agreed to take them into their homes. And some people also go further than Poland, right? Some people may have families in other European countries. So we provide those services to help them relocate to other countries. But Poland has settled a lot, over 2 million refugees in Poland itself. Furthermore, I also had an opportunity to visit Warsaw. And I saw at the Warsaw Central bus station, it was quite the scene. A lot of new arrivals are going there and waiting for places to be able to sleep. And I saw a lot of elderly people even sleeping at the bus shelter, women with children. They have special breastfeeding rooms for moms and things like that. But definitely at the Warsaw Central Station is very, very busy, where people are connecting to other towns, other cities. And so the city of Warsaw as well has stepped up to provide shelter for these new arrivals. But again, there is no such a thing as a camp because Poland is treating these newcomers as their own citizens. And interesting fact, even before the crisis began, before the war, Poland already had about 1 million Ukrainian citizens working in Poland. And so the first wave of migrants was really people who had some family connections in Poland. So those, of course, those families were reunited, and those refugees are being held by their own families. But then the second and third waves that we were seeing were people who actually didn't have any connections in Poland and who are currently staying with Polish families.
Wow, Natalia, thank you very, very much. It's a great positive news, and a very big thank you from our world community to you and the Polish government and the Polish people for all the help that they provided in these very, very trying times. Thank you very, very much.
Дякую. And слава Україні!